everybody, welcome to my channel. I am here and I'm your coach Felicia Okoro. You're probably used to hearing my voice. Now on this occasion I decided to show my face due to many demands and requests. So I'm showing my face today. So today we're doing the SOS, a call to healing. And I'm going to talk about how I became a life coach. Now if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So before we get into that, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to my channel. Support this channel by subscribing and sharing out with everybody and hit the notification button. But most importantly, share with those who you feel that this content can help. Now, I hope you can hear me. I've been having problems with my sound, but hopefully you'll be able to hear me. So without further ado, this coaching session or this talk therapy is about why I became a life coach. And, you know, it wasn't a profession that I necessarily thought about, to be honest with you. I didn't know anything about life coaching. I didn't have an idea of it. It wasn't my world. I came from a world of training and development and project management. Yeah, very rigid. But due to life circumstances, I took a turn. And when I say I took a turn, I think I took a turn in a way that it was a divine turn. Because like I said, it wasn't something that I set out to do. I mean, I knew about life coaches, but it just wasn't my field of work. And firstly, even though I did go into, I love training and development. It's the project management I just found a bit. But I come from a very creative background, so I'm very creative by nature. So that was literally my backdrop. But due to circumstances, which you probably would have heard of in my other videos, sad circumstances, I went into life coaching. Now, if you're new to this channel, welcome. Please continue to stay on board and more will come out. I coach from a Hebrewic stance. So I have a strong conviction and faith in the Bible and scriptures, and that is literally what has rescued me from a life of bad choices, if I'm honest, a life of bad choices. But with no further ado, I want to discuss with you all why I became a life coach, especially when it was never within my vision to become one. And it was literally in 2019 when I was literally in the eye of the storm in my marriage. And when I say that, my marriage had come to an end, you know, and I was in such a dark place because it wasn't something I had set out to do. It wasn't something I was expecting to happen, even though in my other podcast that I will do in the future, we're going to enter into a real spiritual dynamic now with the SOS series, which I hope you guys will stay tuned to, because you know, I do believe we're living in very spiritually heightened times, so maybe you guys will understand what I'm saying, you know. But for some people, maybe a case of, okay, that sounds really odd. But I was in a place where it was completely dark and I was not comprehending what was happening around me. I had 3 children. I had just given birth in 2019 to a beautiful girl, and my marriage had fallen apart. My ex-husband had asked for a divorce. But prior to that, I was going through what I later realized was narcissistic abuse. And if you do not know the signs and the symptoms of narcissistic abuse, it's literally designed to destroy an individual. Now, all praises to the Most High, that wasn't my portion. And he rescued me from something that was very, very detrimental to my health, my mind. I didn't understand what was happening at the time. All I saw was this person who we had both committed to each other to take care of. We had taken vows, had now just done a complete U-turn, and I was faced with, I would say, a situation I couldn't understand. But if I'm honest, there were red flags. How many of us have seen the red flags in our relationships and chose to ignore? I'm definitely one of them. So during this time, we were separated and I was living with my 3 children. And it was actually a family member on his side who really sympathized with what I was going through. He was really there. I cannot lie. He was the beginning of where I am today. And you can say pretty much that he was life coaching me through my situation. But I didn't understand it. I didn't see it. He was there, and he was the cousin of my ex-husband. And he had told me he was a life coach. But when I kind of went in to get the qualification to become a life coach a year or so afterwards, I realized that even though he was a life coach, he kind of tailored how he approached me by giving me lots of examples and really being a great storyteller about his experience, which sometimes life coaches are really about. It's really about the client. But I appreciate what he was doing at the time because it created that buffer of safety for me. So he would speak to me and he was literally coach me back to health because I was in a place where I didn't know how to function. I was an autopilot. I didn't believe in divorce. I didn't file for divorce. So I was in a place of complete and utter darkness and confusion and full of serious rage. But even though I was full of rage, it wasn't a rage that exploded. It was a rage that was always simmering inside, especially once he had, my ex-husband had left. So it was a rage that was just literally simmering inside, and it was just full of confusion. I felt like a failure. I felt like a failure in my marriage. At the time, I wasn't working. I had given up work because my second eldest daughter wasn't well. And I decided I'm going to be, well, at the time, me and my ex-husband, we had decided I was going to be mainly a stay-at-home mother to nurse her back to health and to be there for her needs. Now, this dynamic didn't change once he left. I still was doing that. And it was literally because I didn't know what else to do. I mean, I was, just imagine being led somewhere, thinking you're going on a journey with somebody, and they literally just disappear midway during your journey. You're just thinking, okay, what am I supposed to do now? And literally, that's what it was. He disappeared, even though there were red flags, which I didn't pick up on, or I chose to ignore. So this cousin of his was literally just helping me through my journey, speaking to me, and he was coaching me in a spiritual sense. And this is where I now started to grow more in my faith, because in the height of my sadness and my despair, it's like the Most High literally put people in my life to lead me to be baptized, to lead me to enter into fellowships, to learn more about him. I mean, I grew up knowing who he was, but I still was a part of the world. I still was living my life. I was still doing things that I wanted to do. I had a fear of the Most High, but it wasn't a fear that prevented me, or it wasn't a fear that made me sit upright, if you know what I mean. Because now today I'm sitting upright. I'm standing upright. I'm not even messing around. But it was like a compromising relationship that I had with the Most High, and I didn't know him. That's just the reality. I didn't know him, and I think a lot of us can relate to that. We don't know, especially if you're on the spiritual walk. And if you're new here and you want to understand more about spirituality, please, you are welcome. And it's about building up our relationship with the Most High. So I was literally trying to figure things out, and he spoke to me and he coached me back, or coached me to a place of asking myself questions. We did a lot of future thinking. And he would ask me questions like, what inspired me? Now, I found this such a weird question to be asked in a time where I didn't feel inspired. Even though I had been baptized, even though I was attending fellowship, I found that any time I had the interaction with my ex-husband, it was as if I was never baptized, because I would take the bait. He would gaslight me, dangle the bait in my face, and I would take the bait. So I used to forget that I was baptized. I was, which happens. So the question of what inspired me, I didn't know how to answer it. I felt like everything felt so glum. And also during that time as well, my mother-in-law had passed away. And leading up to that, there was so much drama, which I won't go into. But I was in a very weird place, and I couldn't really say what inspired me. Now, for those who's been in a relationship before, if you've been with a narcissist, they tend to, due to their brokenness, they tend to suck out any type of inspiration you may have. I was drained of my confidence. I was drained of my health. I was drained of my finances. There were so many things that just literally seeped away from me. I was literally a cocoon, a shell of who I was before I entered, the marriage. I couldn't recognize myself. I could not recognize myself because before I entered the marriage, oh my gosh, I had things going for me. I had plans, I had dreams, I was in a very good job. But maybe I had to get here because, like I said before, I knew of the Most High. But if I'm honest, did I have a relationship? No, not really. I had a respect for a Creator, but I was still living my life. But, this situation brought me into an understanding of what a relationship with the Most High is. So I couldn't answer the question of what inspired me. And he told me to literally just have a think about it. And he spoke to me in such a way, I now started to understand the discipline behind coaching. When he would ask me questions, and sometimes my response would be, oh, I don't know. What inspires you? I don't know, nothing at the moment. He would now take me on a journey of future thinking. How would you like to look like? How would you like things to be like in 5 years? How would you like things to look like in 5 years? How do you see yourself in 10 years? And these questions, which are considered impactful questions or insightful questions, it got me thinking. It got me thinking outside of the darkness that I was in. It got me now, because when you're in that mode, you're literally thinking about yourself. You do enter into something quite selfish. And a lot of people say, oh, don't say that, but I was inward looking, because the reality is I was a mother that had 3 children, but there was, in that situation at that time, I was inward looking because I was deeply wounded. And like I mentioned, I was like in the eye of the storm when everything was just going haywire and crazy. So what he got me to do, and I wrote it down on, in my phone, and I wanted to share it with you guys because literally this is where I am today, 5 years on. So when he asked me what inspired me, I took time to think about it. I didn't know what to say at the time, and he gave me that opportunity to just take your time, think about it. And then once you have an idea of what inspires you now, not necessarily what you kind of dreamt about or had plans for in the past, but what inspires you now, put it into prayer. He always brought me back to the fact that you have been baptized, you have been immersed, you're on a new journey. Because I literally didn't know what will happen in terms of career-wise. I had, at that moment in time, been out of work for 4 years because of my daughter. and what she was going through. 4 years I was out of work. I did odd jobs here and there, but career-wise, 4 years. So you can imagine how stuck one would feel, one would be just trying to start future thinking, when your life it was crumbling around you. So I wrote it down and I wanted to share with you, because once I wrote this down, that's when I took the steps to inquire about doing coaching, because of how the family member at the time made me feel. So I wrote 5 steps, and I wrote this list on the 23rd of July 2019. And it said here I modified it on the 18th of August 2019. I don't know what I modified, I can't remember, but the initial list was written on the 23rd of July 2019. I'd like to share it with you guys. So number 1, I wrote, I wanted to establish my relationship with Yahuwah and Yahusha. Now, if you don't know already, I use the Hebrew name to the Elohim, the God of the Bible, and I call him by his name, which is Yahuwah, and his son Yahushua. So I wanted to establish my relationship with them both, because the reality is I forgot all the discipline. I forgot all the do's and don'ts when I got immersed, because anytime I entered into any type of conversation with my ex as a narcissist, and I would say this is not a video to break him down or to make him look bad, because the reality is narcissism is a spirit. I believe that to be so, and it's also in the physical content a disorder. So he's a broken man. So when I was having a conversation with my ex-husband, he would dangle that bait in front of me, and I would take it up. I would take it up 90% of the time. And every time I did that, I was deflated, I was drained, I was sorrowful. And when I say I would take it up, I would argue about, I would shout at the top of my lungs. I would just do everything that I thought was safeguarding my physical being and my spirit. And the reality is, I wasn't safeguarding myself. I was leaving myself wide open for more spiritual attack, for more breaking down, and literally devaluing myself. So I wanted to build back that relationship again. I wanted to establish that relationship again and work on it. I wanted to work on it. I wanted to know Abba Yahuwah. I wanted to know his promises for my life. I wanted to know his son. I wanted to understand my purpose. And I don't want to skip ahead, because I think I wrote it there as well. So number 1, establishing a relationship there. I had taken that leap to be immersed. So I wanted to walk and live in that lifestyle moving forward. Number 2, I wanted to understand, just said it, wanted to understand my purpose in life, spiritually and physically. So spiritually, I wanted to understand, why was I born? What was my purpose? Was my purpose to keep making wrong decisions, to live a life of sorrow, to possibly repeat certain generational curses, because we all have them in our family one way or another. What was my spiritual purpose? Why was I here? And physically, what was I here to do? Which can all be connected. Once you understand your spiritual purpose, you probably understand what your physical purpose is too. So I needed to understand that. My Nigerian name, I'm Igbo, and my Igbo name is Ngozi, which means blessing, and in Hebrew means Barak. So I wanted to live in accordance to my name. But when you feel so beat down, and I was beat down, how do I go about doing that? So that was my number 2 in my list. I wanted to understand what my purpose was. Number 3, I didn't want my situation with my ex-husband to leave me so scarred, so discarded, and so jilted that I wouldn't be able to find love again. So number 3 was falling in love and finding who the Most High has truly allocated for me. So it wasn't a case of falling. There's a scripture in the Bible that men will say sweet things to the women's ears, and we'll be like silly women, letting them into our houses. I didn't want to be like that. I'm not like that naturally, but I didn't want to feel that I was now desperate, that I wanted to be with somebody, I wanted to be in a relationship. I'm a divorcee. What does this all mean? No. If the Most High has literally found somebody for me, I wanted to be so healed, so complete and made whole by him that I'm able to embrace that. Now, I know a lot of you will say, well, my dear, you're divorced, so you can't get married again. That's another conversation for another day, because we all have our different understanding of what Yahushua has said regarding that. But nevertheless, not to lose track, but that was, if the Most High said, listen, and, when I go into the spiritual aspect of this podcast, there was a revelation that was given, that I was told about, that my ex-husband actually wasn't my husband. He wasn't my covering. Now, what does that mean? We don't know. Maybe we can decipher that together. But if the chance or the opportunity came to fall in love again, I wanted to be healed. And I also wanted to fall in love with, first and foremost, the Most High and his Son. Because if you cannot appreciate or love the creator of the heavens and the universe, the one who created you, how on earth can you love anybody else? How else can you execute love, show love, in any way, shape or form? So, even though I was thinking about it in the physical context, that establishing the relationship with the Most High also has to be about building that trust and love with him, and trusting him, and literally just free falling into his arms. Number 4, like most of us, I wanted financial freedom. I wanted to figure out what my next move would be when it comes to my career. And I'm here. No pun intended. I am here, literally. Wow, I didn't know. I'm not financially free, but the financial freedom was connected to the Most High blessing my hands, baracking my hands to yield now for my family, as that physical covering of a man was no longer there. So I want financial freedom in that sense. And number 5, which I've now started to do, is improve my health and more exercise. Before I got married, and during the very early stages of my marriage, but mainly before I got married, I used to work out 4 times a week after work. It was literally part of my routine, it was part of my life. Once I got married, that pretty much stopped. I met my ex-husband in the gym. So being married to a narcissist, you kind of lose yourself as they prioritize what they want first. And I was a very yes sir type of woman, so I didn't really push to get, I did push to a certain extent, but if I saw that he wasn't happy with it, I left it alone. So I wanted to get back my health, and you can only imagine my health had deteriorated a lot. I had lost my hair, the thickness of my hair had gone, it had become thin because I was worrying, stressing, fighting, you name it. I was eating a lot, or even sometimes eating too little, and I just wanted to get my health back, and I wanted to go back to exercising, which I've now started to do. So I have started exercising again, and the Most High tells us to look after our bodies. Our bodies is a temple to him, and sometimes we tend to forget that when we go for our guilty pleasures like sweets and cakes and all those things. But it's now for me beginning to understand that my health is so important. We need to take care of ourselves to the best of our ability. the majority of our environment is full of toxins, and I'm trying to relearn that again and be kind to myself in doing that. So when I now went back to this list, I was like, and I went back to, when did I go back to this list? I went back to this list probably last year sometime, and I was blown away because the majority of the points I had put down, I'm literally have done or I'm doing. To be honest, the majority of this are in motion now. And 2019 now, we're talking about 5 years. And I even forgot I made this list. So this is why I said the move into coaching was divine for me, because once I wrote this list, still in that mist of sadness and figuring out what to do, I decided to Google, okay, what does it mean to be a coach? What does it mean? And there was a coaching academy I saw. I didn't even research much into the coaching academy. I was just like, okay, I'll do that. And I went to the first 3 days. They offer, listened to it. I thought, well, I'm not really doing much with my life, a new baby. And yeah, I'll join up, I'll sign up. And I paid the fee, which was not cheap, okay? I paid the fee. And it was a battle to even focus, to even grasp what was being said. You know, it was a proper diploma, and, you know, I had already done a degree in university in politics and international relations. So even just going back to that setting of education was like, especially as a mother with 3 children. And it was a struggle. But you know what? Literally, it took me 2 years or so to complete. And it was a crawl to the finishing line, but I got there in the end. And I realized in that journey of doing the diploma, I wanted to give back. I wanted to give back what was given to me in my darkest hour. Now, my ex-cousin wasn't the only person that helped me. I had still have strong family members, sister-in-law, you name it, that they were really speaking life to my situation. And I wanted to give back, and I wanted to know how to give back. And not even when I even signed up to the coaching, literally like 2 years, middle of it, I realized, wow, I want to give back. And if this is the way to give back, then that is what I'm going to do. Even when I was doing the diploma, I didn't even know what type of coach I wanted to be. They were asking, they gave you advice to fall into your craft of coaching naturally. Even then, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what coach I wanted to be. I was just more concerned about wanting to give back midway during the diploma and just allowing the Most High to help me go through the process. Because let me tell you, once I paid that huge amount for the diploma, I felt like I made a mistake. Now, this is the thing I wanted to speak about quite quickly, is those negative thoughts, which we call in counseling automatic negative thoughts. So ANT, A-N-T. And I was plagued with negative thoughts, such as, you don't deserve this, you've wasted money, you don't have what it takes, you're not a professional, you've been out of the game for too long. All these things and more was counteracting, and I think this is why it took me so long to kind of complete it, and how it felt like I was literally crawling to the finishing line. But I got there. So I realized I wanted to give back. I didn't know what capacity. And even now, it's only recently I realized, you know what? I'm a parenting coach. I also did training in parenting as well. All these opportunities started to fall on my lap. And there was an opportunity that was paid. It was free and volunteering. And let me tell you, if you haven't done so already, to volunteer and help somebody is the most rewarding thing you can do. My goodness, to give of yourself. Even the Bible encourages us to give alms, to give back. And I was learning all this while going through the process. So it's like, it was such a divine thing. And, you know, what I would say is, once I had an understanding of what I wanted to do, it was now trying to defeat those negative voices that said you couldn't do it. And it's a battle that still happens today, you know, even just to get ready to do a podcast, you know, the thoughts came back in. But this is why I kind of end my talks that I do with be encouraged. Be encouraged, because I believe I went through what I went through to be here today. And by reading out these pointers to you shows that 5 years ago, when I was asked, you know, what inspires you, I just wrote this down. I and I had to think so hard. And I wrote it down, and the reality is I am literally halfway through this list. And I didn't realize I was doing this by the grace of the Most High until I actually found the list again on my phone. So I say all of that to say this. If your experience is similar to mine, or you're going through something similar, be inspired, be encouraged. Trust in the Most High, even when it feels like you just don't have the energy or you can't, but He's working in our favor. And I will end on this note. You know, Romans 12:2 means a lot to me. And it means a lot to this process that I went through in becoming a life coach, wanting to give back, wanting to share my experience, which is not easy most of the time, but hoping and praying that it would touch somebody and help somebody. And it reads, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." Let me tell you, what I went through in my past up until now, I have been renewed in my mind, still being renewed in my mind. And I was conformed to the world at one point, but the rescuing that came from the divine, up until this day, still baffles me. So I just want to encourage you all. I want to encourage you to keep going. I wanted to share just briefly, I don't want to go, I can see it's not brief, 30 minutes, but I just wanted to share how I became a coach and how basically it felt like I was divinely moved into this post. And I'm still learning as I go along. I'm still building back the confidence that was lost. I'm still working through this list now. I realize with the health and the gym and the financial freedom, all that. And I'm not even thinking about it. The same way I kind of forgot I wrote about it. I'm just trusting in Abba. So I encourage you to trust in Abba. And if you don't know Him, get to know Him. Go through my videos. Subscribe, like I said before, and I will do more videos on this and trying to show my face as much as possible. But yes, this was my journey, why I became a life coach. So I hope it's inspired you, and I will love you guys to remain encouraged. Until next time, bye.